Okay, hello there. I'm Dennis. Thanks for joining. Right now I'm running on Fedora Linux 36 that I installed July the 6th on this hard drive, and this hard drive is a solid state drive. This command here, if it would have returned a 0 or a 1, it would have been a rotational drive or a spinning drive. Since it's a 0, that indicates that it's a SSD. And I'm running NeoFetch. This is Fedora Linux 36 XFCE, and we're going good. And I'm gonna make this video because they just coming out. This is Fedora's main website, getfedora.org. They released a beta version here, Fedora 37. And so I've downloaded this and we're going to install it. But if you want to look through the release notes, and there's a lot of changes, man. I went through here and highlighted some stuff on my own notes here about what they're going to do. And we'll go over this more during the installation in my virtual box so that we can utilize that space. And I'll make sure these links get in the description. All right, let me bring up my virtual box. And we got it set up, Fedora 37 Beta. Now this is going to be the Gnome desktop. I'm not going to test the media, although that's a great option there. So while that's booting, I give it 8 gigabytes of RAM, 2 cores of my processor. I enabled the UEFI, and for now I'm running the stock graphics controller, and we'll see how that works. Yeah, that list on the changes is huge. Let's see if let's try Fedora. It'll capture my mouse. Uh-oh. Here we went. Let's log in. Dedication required for the update I made. There we go. You can choose install to hard drive in the activities overview. Alright, let's close that up. Make this a little bigger. And see if we got a 16.9. I don't think we're going to. Oops. We definitely have the guessed it. Geez. 14. That'll do. Keep it. Close this out. Alright. Click on the activities. It says it should be in here. Install the hard drive. There it is. Now once you click on the install, it's not like the Calamaris installer where you get a window separate from the desktop. Here it's going to envelop the entire desktop. Maybe. Thought I clicked on it. Oh, there we go. So first option is what language do you want to use during the installation? English, United States. I'm going to say continue. Quite a selection. This is a unstable pre-released software. This pre-release software is intended for development and testing purposes only. Do not use the software for any critical work or for production environment. So if you install the beta version on a real machine, on a real hard drive, they're telling you not to. Don't use it. I mean, maybe install it and critique it or see what it's all about if it works. But if it don't work, don't be mad at them. By clicking I want to proceed, you understand and accept the risk. Alright, so I'm going to say I want to proceed. It even says right here, pre-release testing. Automatically I see we don't have a user account and all that in the installer, but we do have this. So let's click it, and it does pick up the hard drive, VirtualBox drive. Let's leave it at automatic and say done, and checking storage. Okay, now let's go back and see if we can see what it did or was going to do. Nope, it didn't. So a lot of people would use Btrfs here. I'm going to use standard partitioning. I'm not going to encrypt it, but that's another great option to have in the installer. So I'm going to say add, and we're going to give it a mount point of boot EFI 512 capital M. Say add mount point. Alright, I'm going to say add again. And mount point this time will be root. Let's see, I give it 58. Let's give it 26. Whoops. Yeah. Let's give it 26 gigs for our root partition. Add mount point. Alright, let's say add again. And this time for the mount point, or for the type, we're going to give it, let's see, I give it 8 gigabytes for that. So 8 gigabytes for RAM. Let's equal that with swap. Add that mount point. Now that should give us a little bit left here at the end for our home partition. We're going to just leave the capacity blank and say add mount point. Now let's look at what we got. Let's start with the EFI. It's boot EFI 512. It's going to reformat it as an EFI system partition FAT32. We could label it. Let's see, the next one would be SDA2, which is our root, standard partition. It's going to reformat it. You could label it. The next one would be swap, and it's going to reformat it as swap. We could label it. And then the last one is home with 24 gigs, standard partition. And again, we could label it. So this all looks good. I'm going to say done. And here's the changes that it's going to create. Set the changes. Okay, so everything is ready to go here. Wait a minute. Didn't realize I clicked on that, but I guess I did. No, I did. I wanted to change the date. So begin the installation. And that's going to be it for any kind of user interface for a while until it installs and we reboot. So while it's doing that, let's go look at my notes where I made some notes on some of the beta changes. I guess this has been coming. It looks like they're going to drop 32-bit builds in the latest RPM or Red Hat package managements from Fedora 37 onwards. It lists just some packages here that it will no longer build the 32-bit subpackages. So they're not going to support 32-bit, which I find that a little strange because there's a lot of people in this world still use 32-bit. I still have a 32-bit machine. They're going to update glibc and the binary utils. Install using GPT on a x8 on a 64-bit BIOS by default. So usually when you would boot into a BIOS version, you would choose master boot record, but they're finding out that the GPT apparently is better all the way around. So this is now the default on Fedora install. I think that's pretty nice. It makes it Linux systems installed will get GPT partitioning by default instead of legacy master boot record. More similar to the UEFI installs. So it's kind of just making everything more similar and easier to read. Python's adding a -p flag to default shebangs. In other words, you write in a script, the shebang, as they call it, the normal hash mark in the right here, is that it's going to change to user bin, in this case Python 3. Dan, the Mayo Linux man, he just did a video on writing some scripts and using YAD, and he points out there that eventually they're going to all go that way. So Fedora's catching up to Mayo Linux. They're going to update the Red Hat package management to 4.18. They're going to retire ARM version 7 architecture, aka ARM 32, which is 32-bit ARM HFP architecture. So they're making some pretty serious changes, and I encourage you to go through this list and see release notes. I'll make sure this gets in the notes. A lot of changes. I mean, a lot. Trying to see there it is. I'm about halfway down the page. Go all the way to the bottom. Normalize. And I'm not going to just look through this because I'll look through it a lot faster and you can probably just read through it. But here's the link, and I'll make sure, like I said, I get that in the description. Let's see where we're at on the installation. 78% installing software. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back when this is complete. Okay, so it's not through yet, but I'm going to go ahead and come back because, again, I'm going to point something out I think is hilarious. And I'm not sure of how the Fedora teams can even justify this. They have their own media writer. Right here it is. It's called the Fedora Media Writer. You would think that it's because it's their media writer, it would be included by default on any Fedora system. As you'll see, I do have the media writer, but let's see this here. Make that bigger so you can see everything. What does it say right here? Fedora Media Writer. So the way I had to get it was not through their standard repo or RPM packages. It was through a Flatpak. And, you're going to find Flatpaks are necessary on Fedora anyway. But I'm just saying that is a Fedora application that should be at least an option during the install. Alright, so let's install a bootloader. I can guess it's getting pretty close. Again, it says right here, pre-release for testing. I actually installed Fedora on this machine that I'm using right now that before July this year. I actually installed it at the beginning of the year, but I put it on a hard drive and I included a slave drive. And I really didn't like the performance I was getting out of the slave drive, or the spinning drive was, that slows you down a little bit. So I decided I was just going to get rid of the slave drive and use an SSD and install everything on that. That's the reason why it shows that I installed it in July. But I have been using it for quite a while. In fact, in the other system, I made several videos using that system with the backup drive, or D drive. I guess I'm going to be forced to pause the video once again. Would have thought with the bootloader it'd be real close to being finished. This progress bar right here is deceiving as well. And I think that was the same on the regular or default ISO that I installed Fedora 36 with. Actually, I installed Fedora 35 and then upgraded to Fedora 36. Wow. But we're not going to get a failure here. I'm going to pause. Well, I'll just cut this out and be quiet. Right, network configuration, creating users. It's just creating categories. We're going to add a user on the reboot. All right, so now I know it's getting close to being finished. It's running the init RAM file system, or initialize RAM file system. I can already tell I'm going to have to cut a bunch of this out. This video is going to run a lot longer than I would like it for it to. I'm going to pause the video. I wanted to point this out before I forget. I'm wrong. It did not. It looks like it's got the entire screen, but if you click on the activities windows, you can clearly switch workspaces. So I was wrong about that. Of course, I'm not a Gnome person. I don't know. I can navigate around in it a little, but I'm not. XFCE is my typical default desktop. Guess I'm gonna pause again. And as you could expect, as soon as I click pause, it finished up. So I'm going to click finish now, and it should reboot us. Should. Maybe I can do that. This is new. Restart. Go here and take out that ISO. There we go. I should have changed that graphics controller. Remember the 1440 by 900. That was pretty quick. But we should be getting into GDM. Now we got to start the setup. We're not that far yet. We're not ready to log in. We got to do this. So here on real hardware, absolutely, I would turn off the location services and I would automatically report problem. I'm going to turn both of those off, and I would in a typical installation. I would learn first how to do those things myself, especially the problem reporting, and then I would do that. All right, we're going to enable third-party repositories. Nice. All right, let's see. Well, let me go next yet. There we go. I'm going to skip all that. I don't want to do any of that. I wouldn't do it anyway. Now here it's asking for your full name, so you could go with a capital if you chose to. We'll say next. Give it a password. We'll say it's too short or weak. I don't care. Start using Fedora. Now typically on that, before this, on a password, if it was too short, you'd have to click the done button twice. Alright. Let's don't take the tour. I didn't have to log in, did I? Let's see. Let's restart. I like that layout of that setup there. Better than I did the old one. Better than mine. Of course, I don't have Gnome. Yeah, I didn't see anything that said not give me a password prompt to log in. Surely that's still the default. There we go. And we didn't get this before we were setting up the user. There we go. Now let's see what we got here in this cog. So we got GNOME, GNOME Classic on Xorg, and GNOME on Xorg. By default, it was selected GNOME. So let's leave it like that. And press enter. And that was pretty quick too. Alright, let's see what we get as far as applications in the new beta Fedora 37. Contacts, weather, clocks, maps, photos, videos, calculator, documents. So far, pretty much the same. Oh, Fedora Media Writer. Ha 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 ha. Thank you, Fedora. Thank you, Fedora. Download automatically. Fedora Media Writer, select an image. I'm going to see about version 5.2. 5.02. So the same version. Now let's see something else. Let's close this out. Find me a terminal. Well, let's see if it installed Flatpak by default. It did not. Media Writer now is part of their repositories. Let me look. I just did a look. Let's see. DNF. Nope, no matches found. So it's available on Fedora 37 Beta ISO, but not available in repos yet. Okay, so terminal, that's it. One page of applications. Some useful apps like LibreOffice, the document viewer, Fedora Media Writer. I still like that. Utilities, disk usage, connections, GNOME disk, characters for emojis, I guess, document viewer. Didn't we just see that right there? Image viewer, problem reporting. See, there's where I go. Before, when I opted out to report my problems, right here's an icon and a software available for me to report a problem. So you don't have to do it there in order to have it available here. Fonts and logs. Let's see. How do I get out of that? Escape. Yeah. Cheese. Take the tour. Huh. Let's see. How much space it used. Was system monitor in here? Bring that up right here. Go to file systems. See how accurate either one of them are. Here on SDA2, it's used 5.8 gigs. SDA2, 6.2 gigs. So we got a small discrepancy there between what Gnome file system is showing versus DF. I'm not sure why. SDA4, 24 megs, 24 megs plus 2. So it's not quite right. Huh. Wonder what the difference is. Don't know. Under resources, we're using 1.8 gigabytes of RAM. That's kind of high, especially for a fresh boot. I hadn't really done anything except, I don't know, navigate a little bit with the terminal. Boot UEFI, everything's mounted. New name, -A. We got the Fedora Linux 5.19.7 kernel. Okay. What else can we look at? Let's open up the software store. And again, this is a beta version. They warn you, even through the installation, do not count on this operating system. Well, that opened up really quick. We got updates. System updates. That's down. It requires us restart. That's fine. I'm probably just going to close this out. We just looked at the software. So we don't have like Gnome tweaks. So that would be definitely something I would look for to install. What do they give us as far as a file browser? Oh, right here. I was like, what? This is what? Gnome files? Yeah. 43.1 beta, or 43 beta.1. Very nice. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video, end the video. This is, once again, Fedora Linux 37 Beta. I'm looking forward to it, especially if they're going to start furnishing or including Fedora Media Writer. For some reason, and it completely baffles me why it's not already. It's named Fedora Media Writer. Why not include it in your repositories anyway? You listening to me, Red Hat Package Managers? All right, thanks so much for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Peace out. Be safe. Bye.